Well, who knows? Maybe somewhere someone is interested in creating a drivable motorcycle. I guess in some circles the Vespa is called a motorcycle, but I guess we'll call it a scooter. You can see I can drive the scooter around. It's got the sidecar. All three wheels are turning, and it does have physics properties. And it's basically based on the Physics Toolbox four-wheel base structure. I was able to modify this structure to make it work for the Vespa and the sidecar. And if you're interested, we'll talk about how to do that. Now, the first thing I did was go to Trimble 3D Warehouse and locate a Vespa. Typed in Vespa. There are a number of nice models to choose from. You can choose pretty much any of them. I chose this one. It's not very large. It's only a megabyte. And of course, once you've got that model, you want to load it into SketchUp. Now, SketchUp is free, and it's a very powerful little modeling program. You can load that object in, and thankfully, you can break it down and delete objects that you may not need, and you can separate things out. Now, it was important, of course, to take the wheels and separate them from the body, and I was able to do that. And the other thing I wanted to be able to do was make the handlebar separate, and I was able to do that by selecting certain objects and separating them out, like the front fender, and I was able to separate them to create separate objects so I could steer the front fork and control that front wheel. So that was a real plus with this particular model, and most of them you'll probably be able to do that. With a little bit of practice in SketchUp, you should be able to do that very easily. Of course, once you're finished in SketchUp, you'll need to bring the SketchUp model into 3D Exchange and make sure things are going to separate out. And I was able, once again, of course, to separate out the wheels. Probably wouldn't need both wheels, but they are separated out. And the most important thing was the fork. Probably done a few mechanical fudging, bit of fudging here with the mechanical issues, but this seemed to work out best, the handlebar and the front fender. And of course, once you've finished separating everything out in 3D Exchange, it'll be a good idea to try to smooth some of the polygons out as best you can, and hit that smooth button and make sure everything's selected. And it did a pretty good job. There's a few here that are a little rough, so you might want to go back and tweak those a little better, and you might be able to get them a little better. Sometimes you can't get them too good, it's been my experience. But now that you've got it basically where you want it, send it over to iClone and you'll be ready to start the animation. Here's the basic model. I've of course resurfaced, changed the colors. I've added a sidecar. Once again, I found that at Trimble 3D Warehouse, and I modified it so it would fit pretty much the little Vespa. Of course, I've dirtied it up and grunged it up. I don't know why I like things kind of beat up. I guess we'll do a tutorial sometime on that, but I do like things a little more beat up and a little more worn than brand new. But basically, here's what we've got. We've got the Vespa. We've got the 3 wheels. They're separate objects, and of course the fork is separate as well. So now let's figure out how we can make the wheels turn and this operate like a vehicle with somewhat correct physics using the 4-wheel structure from the Physics Toolbox. Now, anytime you want to work with physics, you want to make sure you add the infinite plane so you'll have something for the structure to react to. And we're going to go and we're going to load the 4-wheel object from the Physics Toolbox. And let's just take a look at this particular object and just see how we can potentially make this work. Obviously, there's a big size discrepancy, and so let's play a little bit with the size, and let's scale it down a little bit. Not necessarily going to scale it all the way down, but we're just going to kind of experiment, see what works best. Now notice we of course have 3 wheels with our sidecar and our scooter, and we have 4 wheels here. I'm not going to let that deter us. I'm going to detach for the moment the wheels. I'm going to select them all, holding down the shift key, and now we're going to go over here and detach. Then I'm going to take this frame, I'm going to raise it, and I'm going to play a little bit with its scale. Once you make major adjustments to these physics structures, you want to make sure it works correctly, and you might want to play with it and make sure it drives like it should anytime you make a big change to it. And let's go ahead and just slide this over and kind of look at our scooter here and just kind of roughly get it into a position where it'll roughly match up. And once again, this is trial and error for me, and there's possibly always a better way to do it than this, but this seemed to work pretty good for my initial experiment. You certainly don't want the wheels to touch this device, so make sure it's high enough that the wheels don't touch, because that's not a good thing. And we'll keep playing with that. Now let's adjust our wheels, and let's make sure we get the front wheel, steering, and let's get them all selected there. You have the steering component and you have the wheel component there. And let's go ahead and try to see if we can line that roughly up. That's a pretty close alignment there, so that might work. Now I'm going to put this pretty much in the center of this structure. I'm going to eyeball it here, and let's line up that rear wheel and line it up. Once again, I'm going to eyeball it. You can certainly tweak it exactly right, but for now I'm just going to eyeball it up, that wheel there. And then let's take this back wheel, and since there's no steering mechanism, I can pretty much select it, and let's see, I'm going to roughly line it up with the sidecar wheel. Okay, and bring it over here, and we'll tweak those tighter in a minute. And then that front wheel, once again selecting the steering portion and the wheel portion. I'm going to keep that 4th wheel. I haven't experimented too much with eliminating it, but once again, a little bit of stability goes a long way, and once we activate everything, it'll be invisible. So I'm going to kind of keep that 4th wheel there for stability purposes. And now, after this big change, let's go ahead and select all of our wheels and reattach them to the main structure, the chassis we'll call it. And let's make sure that this works and still drives okay, and steers okay. And it's crucial that it steer and drive. and it seems to be driving and steering just fine. Okay, and we'll just stop and do that. So that's the basic layout. Now what we're going to do is we're going to parent the wheels from the scooter to the appropriate wheel. Front wheel will go right here, this rear wheel on the scooter will go here, and of course the sidecar wheel will be attached to this wheel. So let's go over here and let's locate the front wheel, and let's see here, I think I've attached it to the fork. So there's that wheel. Now I'm going to detach it. Now what I want to do is go over here to the steering, and I want to let's find the front left wheel. Front left wheel right here. Front left. There we are. Okay, that wheel. Now I'm going to go up here and get the coordinates X, Y, and Z. 37.7. I'm going to write those down. 154 and 17.7. Now I'm going to enter those coordinates for this particular wheel over here, and let's go ahead and find that wheel, the front wheel. And it's a good idea, of course, to name these. There we are. Since I detached it, it's now on its own. Okay, and I'm going to enter 37.7, and let's select this, and 154 and 17.7, and make sure you get them right. Hit them, and now if you've noticed, that wheel jumped over here. Now we want to attach that wheel to our front left on our structure. So let's find attach right here, pick parent, and I'm just going to pick it right here. And now that wheel, okay, I'm going to back it up, and I'm going to hit Control D, and there we go. It's a little wobbly wheel, but it's perfect for what I want for the Vespa. I'm going to do that with each of the wheels now. Okay, we've got our wheels attached. Things seem to be turning okay. And of course you'll notice that you can turn it over, just like any sidecar motorcycle. It's easy to do, so be aware of that. You could add more wheels, I think, and give it even more stability if you want that, but I kind of like the fact that it can be turned over. Okay, the next super important thing now is to get the steering column, steering fork of the Vespa attached correctly to the steering of the chassis. So let's locate the Vespa fork, and let's just slide it on over and eyeball it up, and that's pretty close, to the steering of the chassis, and I'm going to attach it to the steering front left right there. Okay, and let's see if it turns. It does turn, in fact. Okay, that's a good thing. Alright, let's go ahead now and attach the Vespa itself to the chassis. And once again, things can be tweaked and adjusted after the fact, so don't think it's got to be perfect when you line it up, but we'll try to get it close. And there's probably a little much room there. Let's slide that up. Okay, and now we'll attach that to the four-wheel chassis, and that's attached right there. Okay, and so let's see if it works, and there it goes. Okay, now if we look real close at the steering, it's a bit wonky, as a technical phrase. Notice it really doesn't follow very well the fork. The key to that, it seems to be getting the pivot point correct on the steering. So if we locate our steering, steer front left right there, and look at, there's the pivot point there. let's adjust that in line with this fork for one thing. So we'll go up here and adjust the pivot, and let's rotate that to once again get it pretty close. Now let's see if that's any better, and certainly a bit better. If you want to tweak it some more, I think you could get the pivot point and move it and adjust it exactly in line with the fork. You could move it up here to this point and it might work even better. But for right now, that adjustment seemed to do pretty good. So let's take a look at playing it and see. Another problem you'll run into, and we may have mentioned it before, but make sure the wheels do not touch the chassis. Make sure the chassis is far enough away from the wheels so that nothing rubs or touches. If it does, it will definitely cause friction, drag, and just will not work correctly at all. But looks like we're doing pretty good with the steering. Bottom line, if you get it closer, then adjust the pivot point of the fork, the Vespa fork, and the pivot point. Get those to match up, and you'll get pretty good steering for the Vespa if you line up those pivot points, if you need to get it a little more accurate. But right now, as I say, I think it's pretty accurate for my purposes right now. Pretty much got everything attached. I've tweaked the position of the tires so they all pretty much line up kind of where I want them. You can tweak them some more, and there you go. See, it almost spin over. That's what makes it kind of fun. I kind of like the fact that it will turn over like a real three-wheeler. Just might. There you go. Obviously, you got to watch your speed, because the faster you go, the quicker it'll turn over. But once again, you can play around, make some outrigger wheels with physics, and keep everything more stable if that's what you need. Okay, I've always felt Mario is the perfect owner for a Vespa, and I've got him and I've posed him roughly into a riding position. I think one thing that'll make it complete, of course, is to add a reach. And so I've taken a cone, I've colored it, and turn on the dummy props, made it a dummy prop, and I'm going to attach the cone to the handlebars and have him reach that particular item. So let's create two of these. I'm going to hold down the control key, make a couple here. I'm going to attach to the handlebar, and this other one, let's attach to the handlebar grip as well. Okay, and now let's select Mario, go into the edit motion, go to reach target, and let's turn off the bones feature, and let's select that particular reach target. I'm going to go ahead and do rotation, and you can also play with reach target object as well. I'm just going to do rotation for now, and let's select the other hand and select that reach target, and let's do just rotation for now, and once again play with the reach target. That can add some neat features. Very good. So now we've got the reach, and let's go down here to the fork, and now we see reach. You can certainly label those left and right if you choose, and let's now get the hands in the position for the handlebar, and once again just take your time with this and have some fun, and get everything reaching correctly. And now, as you see, once we get a reach there, and you might want to add reach targets for the feet as well, just to be safe. You can do that. Let's get the right rotation axis there, and we'll do this for both hands, and once again you can add them for the feet as well. And of course we do want to make sure we link Mario to the Vespa, to some point on the Vespa. I've even, in some of my versions, I've added another what I call a shaker, and I made the Vespa rattle a little bit and add a little bit of extra movement to it so it kind of rattles along. Also, of course, you want to add some smoke if it's not running too good. But now, let's select, and of course you must link a character, and we'll just link him to any point right now. And now when we turn, he turns with it, like so. So that's going to be a big help to making it work. There he goes. He almost turns over. That's what I love about creating true physics to these objects. It makes it a lot of fun to play with true physics on it. But there you go. So have some fun with that. Hope that helps, gives you some ideas. And use the Physics Toolbox. Put it to good use. Change it up. Make it simple. Change it up. Make it do even more than it was intended to do, possibly. Hope you enjoy.